What happens to a body when it's buried without oxygen? We usually think of decomposition as a standard process, but what if we remove a key element? Oxygen. When we picture a body decomposing, we often imagine it returning to the earth. This process, familiar from movies and books, relies heavily on one vital element: oxygen. It's the main catalyst for most post-mortem changes. Normally, when a body is exposed to air or buried shallowly, oxygen reaches the tissues. This creates an ideal environment for aerobic microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, and other life forms that need oxygen. They break down complex organic compounds like proteins, fats, and carbohydrates into simpler elements. This releases gases, changes tissue color, and gradually destroys the structure. Essentially, these microorganisms are nature's recyclers, turning the body back into its basic components, which can then be used by plants and other organisms. Without their tireless work and the oxygen they require, the usual decomposition scenario is impossible. But what if a body ends up in a sealed coffin, deep in a bog, or encased in dense clay? Do you know how radically the absence of air changes its fate? We've established how oxygen leads decomposition. But what happens when it's removed from the equation? Imagine a body inside a sealed coffin, buried deep in waterproof clay, or sunk to the bottom of a peat bog. In these conditions, oxygen access is minimal or non-existent. This is an anaerobic environment, and here, the usual process of decay is turned upside down. Without oxygen, the aerobic bacteria that worked so diligently to break down tissues can no longer survive. Their work stops, but nature abhors a vacuum. Other microorganisms take their place: anaerobic bacteria. These amazing creatures don't just not need oxygen, it's actually harmful to them. They thrive in oxygen-free environments and start completely different biochemical processes. Instead of rapid rotting, we see slow, altered decomposition, which can lead to surprising forms of preservation, like the formation of adipocere or corpse wax, and even natural mummification. It's a whole different world of post-mortem transformations, full of mysteries and scientific discoveries. No one can tell you exactly how these air-free bacteria work, but they determine the fate of a body in an anaerobic environment. When oxygen disappears, our familiar natural cleaners, the aerobic bacteria, are replaced by their oxygen-averse cousins, anaerobic bacteria. These microorganisms, for whom oxygen is deadly, flourish where there's none to be found. They're always present in our bodies, especially in the digestive tract, and when anaerobic conditions arise, they begin their specific work. Their activity differs drastically from aerobic decomposition. Instead of using oxygen to burn organic matter, anaerobic bacteria use other biochemical pathways, such as fermentation. As a result, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates are broken down into simpler compounds, but with completely different byproducts. These can include organic acids, alcohols, and gases like methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and hydrogen sulfide. These gases often cause the characteristic bloating of bodies where oxygen is limited. Importantly, anaerobic decomposition is much slower and often leads not to complete tissue destruction, but to chemical transformation. This process can be the basis for amazing phenomena of post-mortem preservation, like corpse wax and other unusual transformations. Imagine archaeologists opening an ancient tomb, or forensic scientists examining remains, and instead of the usual bones, they find something astonishing: a body seemingly sculpted from wax. This isn't magic. It's the phenomenon of adipocere, a unique chemical transformation. The phenomenon of adipocere, or corpse wax, is one of the most surprising and intriguing manifestations of anaerobic decomposition. It's not just a slowdown of decay. It's a radical chemical transformation of body tissues that can preserve its shape for decades, sometimes even centuries. Imagine, instead of a skeleton covered with decaying tissue, scientists find a body whose facial features, limbs, and even internal organs remain recognizable, coated in a dense, waxy substance. How does this incredible transformation happen? The key conditions for Adipocere formation are the absence of oxygen and the presence of moisture. In this environment, where aerobic bacteria are inactive, specialized anaerobic microorganisms take over. They attack the body's fatty tissues, primarily triglycerides, which are the main components of fat. In a complex biochemical process known as saponification, similar to making soap from fats, these fats are hydrolyzed and transformed into insoluble fatty acids such as palmitic, stearic, and oleic acid. These acids then polymerize, forming a dense, whitish or grayish, waxy mass. Adipocere resists further decomposition because it isn't attractive food for most microorganisms. That's why bodies that have undergone this wax transformation can remain in surprisingly good condition for a very long time, providing invaluable information to forensic scientists and archaeologists. Thousands of years later, bodies buried without oxygen amaze us with their preservation. Some have lain in bogs for up to 2,500 years, others in permafrost for tens of thousands of years, seemingly frozen in time. Besides adipocere, the absence of oxygen, combined with other factors, can lead to remarkable forms of preservation. Nature demonstrates this through bog bodies and remains found in permafrost. Bog bodies are human remains that have lain in peat bogs for hundreds or thousands of years. Their preservation is due to the unique environment: low oxygen levels, high water acidity, low temperature, and the antiseptic properties of sphagnum moss. These conditions suppress the activity of most decomposing bacteria. The soft tissues of the bodies undergo a process similar to tanning, acquiring a dark, leathery appearance. The bones, however, often dissolve in the acidic environment. Preservation in permafrost is another impressive route. Here, extremely low temperatures completely halt the activity of microorganisms and enzymatic processes. Bodies buried in such conditions remain almost unchanged for tens of thousands of years. For example, perfectly preserved mammoths and ancient humans have been found in Siberia. In these cases, not only soft tissues and internal organs are preserved, but sometimes even the stomach contents. An oxygen-free environment, complemented by the acidity of bogs or the icy cold, opens up different scenarios of post-mortem existence, providing scientists with invaluable data for studying the past. These amazing, sometimes gruesome processes of decomposition without oxygen aren't just a scientific curiosity. They're a key to unlocking ancient mysteries, a priceless window into the past, and a powerful tool in the hands of those who seek to understand death and life. We've seen how the absence of oxygen drastically changes the process of body decomposition, leading to surprising forms of preservation. From adipocere to natural mummification in bogs and permafrost. But what's the practical value of this knowledge for science? For forensic science, Understanding anaerobic decomposition is critical. It allows experts to more accurately determine the time of death, the conditions of burial, and even identify remains that would have long decayed under normal circumstances. The unique chemical changes that occur without oxygen leave their signatures, helping to solve crimes many years later. In archaeology and anthropology, this knowledge is invaluable. Findings of bog bodies, or bodies from permafrost, aren't just remains, they're true time capsules. The phenomenal preservation of tissues, hair, and even stomach contents allows scientists to study the diet, diseases, lifestyle, and genetics of people who lived thousands of years ago. This data allows us to reconstruct details of ancient civilizations and better understand human evolution. Thus, studying these seemingly macabre processes is a powerful tool for unlocking the secrets of the past and enriching our knowledge of humanity. Our journey into the world of anaerobic decomposition has revealed just a fraction of the incredible mysteries that nature holds. If you're as fascinated as we are by unraveling these enigmas, be sure to subscribe to Mysteries of the Spirit and like this video. Together, we'll continue to explore the deepest and most amazing phenomena of our world.